The secret of Genesis. In the first chapter of the Old Testament Bible, known as Genesis, it is said that God created the world in 6 days. 1. Day 1, God created light, separating it from darkness. He called light day and darkness night. 2. Day 2, God created the sky, separating the waters below the sky from the waters above. 3. Day 3, God created land and seas, separating them, and caused various plants to grow on the land. 4. Day 4, God created the sun, moon, and stars to mark seasons, years, and provide light in the sky. 5. Day 5, God created birds and sea creatures. 6. Day 6, God created various animals and insects on land, and finally created humans. 7. Day 7, this day is known as the Sabbath, a day of rest. After creating everything in the preceding 6 days, God rested to signify that his work of creation was complete. Notably, Genesis is the opening work of the Bible, written in ancient Hebrew by the renowned master Moses around 1500 BCE. Later, during the rise of the Greek language, the text was translated into Greek. After the establishment of the Roman Catholic Church, the Bible was uniformly translated into Standard Latin. Following the religious reforms, the Bible was translated into nearly all languages worldwide. The translators of the Bible assert that their translation is word for word, rather than meaning-based. To date, the Bible remains the most widely distributed book in human society. All ancient texts tend to be complex and obscure. For instance, contemporary with ancient Hebrew, Chinese oracle bone script can be deciphered at most to about 60%. The Bible, having undergone multiple layers of translation, cannot possibly retain its original flavor. Therefore, when interpreting biblical texts, it is best to understand them conceptually rather than nitpick details. Anyone who views the world of thousands of years ago through today's lens may inadvertently commit philosophical errors. Chinese oracle bone script is an ancient writing system discovered inscribed on turtle shells and animal bones. It is the oldest known system of pictographic writing from the Chinese dynastic period. The earliest oracle bone script was unearthed in the Yinxi ruins in Anyang, Hunan Province, China. While there may be some debate about the exact number of characters, the generally accepted basic data is as follows. 1. Known individual characters, 4,500. 2. Identified characters, 2,000. 3. Unquestionably recognized characters, approximately 1,000. This recognized character count is clearly insufficient for compiling major literary works. Compared to oracle bone script, deciphering contemporaneous ancient Hebrew texts would likely involve considerable guesswork. However, scholars dedicated to the study of ancient Hebrew report that the Hebrew word for day has multiple meanings. 1. 24 hours of a day. 2. A period of time. 3. A person's lifetime. Interestingly, even in modern Chinese, the term for day has multiple meanings. For example, busy all day, want to rest can be understood in various ways. 1. Today was busy and tiring, without a specific time concept. 2. If referring to a workday, it might mean 8 hours of work. 3. If not working that day, it could imply a day spent doing strenuous physical labor, without specifying exact hours. This illustrates that rigidly defining the one day of creation as a literal 24-hour day may lead to metaphysical and selective interpretation errors. Interestingly, the sequence of events in Genesis aligns with scientific logic. Regarding the non-religious scientific examination of the book of Genesis, we can approach it from 3 main angles: archaeology, geology, and biology. Some viewpoints include 1. Biological archaeology. All species on Earth suddenly appeared during the Cretaceous-Mesozoic era. There have been 5 major mass extinctions in total. While species do evolve, they always remain within their own kind and do not cross species boundaries. Even if there are occasional genetic mutations, they eventually revert to their original state. Within their own kind means that species adapt to their environment by changing features like skin thickness or hair length to better suit hot or cold conditions. However, a horse can never become a donkey, and a cat can never become a dog. While a horse and a donkey can mate to produce a mule, mules are infertile. Similarly, grafting sour and sweet dates can create large dates, but the seeds of these large dates will not sprout. 2. Geological geography. Evidence of prehistoric global floods can be observed in various locations worldwide. 3. Genetic biology. In the late 20th century, major technological nations collaborated for 20 years to compile the human genome map. This research revealed that all humans share a common maternal ancestor, with human genetics being passed down through the maternal line. Human origins trace back to the Middle East and the Tigris-Euphrates region. The branching and migration patterns of humans align with the basic narrative in the Bible. Ancient humans, driven by fear of their environment, naturally developed the most intuitive and primitive form of worship. Over time, this evolved and was passed down through generations, eventually becoming primitive religions. Modern humans, viewing the world's mysteries through the lens of science, arrive at the conclusion that the end of science is theology. This is because the conditions required for human survival are incredibly stringent, involving numerous independent factors such as air and water quality. Remarkably, these independent factors collectively align. Mathematically, the probability of this happening is less than 10 to the power of 23, which is effectively zero. In human terms, it means impossible. Charles Darwin, a renowned naturalist, rather than a scientist, contributed significantly to world civilization through his book on the origin of species. Although he described the evolution of many species, he did not provide the reasons behind evolution. His work focused on describing phenomena, similar to how we describe changes in water states, from ice to liquid to gas, without necessarily connecting them to underlying temperature effects. Importantly, On the Origin of Species does not explain all biological phenomena worldwide, it only covers a vast majority. Additionally, the book discusses species evolution, not their ultimate origin. In its closing, it emphasizes that the origin of species must be attributed to some mysterious force. Therefore, using On the Origin of Species as the sole basis for understanding species origins may not be logically appropriate. Science is not a fixed set of norms, but rather a relative process of development. For example, half a century ago, it was considered scientific to say that humans evolved from apes. However, if someone were to make that claim today, it would be considered an insult and a crude personal attack. In reality, as far back as the 18th century during Pasteur's time, the scientific community had already established the law of unchanging genes. Perhaps in this world, there are only two disciplines, science and theology. Currently, science can explain only about 20% of phenomena, leaving the remaining 80% attributed to theology. Interestingly, the creation of science itself has largely been undertaken by individuals with faith. World-renowned scientists like Newton, first-rate, Einstein, Madame Curie, Pasteur, and Watson, second-rate, were all steadfast religious believers. The classic question of which came first, the chicken or the egg, has puzzled humanity for ages. Regardless of how we interpret it, there is neither scientific evidence nor objective proof. Similarly, consider a few other examples. 1. Oxygen levels. Despite human activities, the oxygen content in the air remains constant. The old hypothesis of photosynthesis has long been disproven by scientific experiments. 2. Male-female ratio. While individual families may have more boys or girls, the overall male-female birth ratio in humans remains relatively balanced. 3. Water sources. Water is essential for life. Earth species rely on the mechanical natural cycle of water, which provides a consistent and abundant supply. Too little water leads to extinction, while excess water causes drowning. 4. Sunlight. Phenomena like sunlight, tides, Earth's rotation, and revolution appear natural, but are scientifically significant. Their reasonable existence creates the basic environment for species survival. Returning to the proposition that the end of science is theology, debates in this area tend to be endless, with each side holding firm opinions. However, regardless of whether humans originated from creation or not, approaching the divine rationally can lead to universal love. Even if it involves benevolent self-deception, the result contributes to the great enlightenment of civilization. In the Western view, a lack of faith is seen as uncivilized. Consequently, many people follow religious beliefs without fully understanding their essence. Nevertheless, both principles hold. 1. All major religions advocate goodness toward others. 2. As believers, we should refrain from wrongdoing. In an exaggerated sense, if our world is plagued by illness, universal love becomes the miraculous remedy, curing our ailments.